Death Knight. There aren't many words in RPGs that carry the massive amount of weight behind it like a Death Knight does. But you are probably thinking about a hulking abomination of undeath, infused with the powers of cold and the unholy. A terror. An absolute terror. While they're also able to control and summon some undead companions. The issue is, every time I look up a Death Knight build for Baldur's Gate 3, I see the same Oathbreaker Paladin Warlock hybrid, and I keep thinking, all we're really doing is using Divine Smite. That's like the core of the build for like damage. It's a little bit weird. And it started to bother me. I'm an undead melee knight, master of the unholy. How the hell could I do holy radiant damage? That doesn't really make sense to me. What kind of BS is this? So I went on a quest to discover what a Death Knight is. I went down the D&D rabbit hole, back to even 1981. Now, to answer my own question, it actually is lore appropriate. Death Knights and Dungeons & Dragons still retain their connection to the divine. Even in death, they can cast divine smells. So that's right, guys. Oathbreaker Paladin casting holy, using holy radiant damage divine smite is actually lore appropriate, believe it or not. This is coming straight from the 5e monster manual. You can take a look here. The 5e monster manual has some other really cool tidbits. But Death Knights aren't only Oathbreaker Paladins, though. Going back to Monster Manual 2, we see that Death Knights can be raised from former Blackguards, fighters, rangers, barbarians. Now that we have a grasp on the lore, let's make some lore appropriate Death Knight builds. Now, I can't get too into the lore because that'll just be a whole nother video in and of itself, but you know me, guys. I like to do a little bit of background. I like the lore aspect of these builds instead of just mismatching something together. I want something cohesive that makes sense to play, and I can get really ingrained with the lore of it and like make it much more entertaining to play through the game. Alright guys, so the TLDR, we're going to do 4 things to make a lore appropriate Death Knight build, right? One and the most important thing, at least to me, we want to be an absolute terror in melee combat, right? We want to be very strong, we want to do a lot of damage. If people come close to us, we want to utterly destroy them. We also want to be tanky because we're going to be in melee a lot, right? Number 2, we want to have some aspect of undeath, right? Whether it's controlling undead, preferably we want to be able to summon undead. They don't have to be the strongest summons, we're not a lich, we're a Death Knight, but being able to destroy our enemies in melee and then raise them up on our own side as, zombies or ghouls would be fantastic. We want to incorporate some type of undead summoning or control into our build. Number 3, now, I am going to show in the background a little bit of differences that BG3 did when it came to Oathbreaker and, Oathkeeper Paladin with their smites. It actually is really cool, the graphical differences, I'll show it there. But we still want to hopefully do some type of necrotic damage, whether that's through spells or, preferably on hit. We want to incorporate some undeath, unholy, necrotic aspect. Lastly, we're going to have an infinity with magic. Death Knights are, magical enemies at some point, right? Like, they have soul-infused weapons, their weapons are a part of them, right? They're magic-infused, their souls are in them. You can't really kill a Death Knight without destroying the weapon. And then you can't just destroy the weapon on the own, without, they're interlinked, right? So, like, whether that's soul pact or some type of magic weapon, elemental weapon, some type of infusion with the weapon, we want to incorporate that into the build. Alright guys, so as this is going to be the Death Knight Compendium, what better way to give you an assortment of builds, right? Because I'm not just going to give you 1, I'm not going to give you 2, I'm giving you 4 really different base builds to work with here to make your most flavorful, aspect of a Death Knight that you want to do. So just to start off real quick, what better way to do that is with sheets. So I'm not the biggest sheets person, but I did my best to try to make it readable and colorful and whatever. So the first build is going to be Lockadin. This has been covered tirelessly. It's probably one of the most popular builds, especially like Paladin wise or Warlock wise, super hybrids. But real quick, I'll just go over briefly build highlights. It's by far and away the undisputed champ. You get 3 attacks. I don't think this was fixed or changed in patch 1, I don't know how to describe it. You get easy stat distribution with the Pacted Ability and Charisma scaling. You get amazing hybrid damage, Eldritch Blast scales with hybrid. There's a lot of good things like machine gunner builds like that. You can go range or melee. You have Pacted Atone if you want to not go Pacted Blade and be more summoner focused for minions. And you get access to like the higher level spells for bigger smites, which is good. You have the option to dip in the fighter. You have the option to dip in the wizard for a little bit of tankiness, shield, the action surge with fighter, and then another fighting style, which is very, very good. But, again, it's been covered to death. There's not a lot for me to add on. You'll see a lot of the benefits here. You get that really, really nice darkness and devil sight for the Eldritch Invocations, and, it's kind of self-explanatory. The one thing I will say that is not a Lockadin, I should have really 5 builds, but if you go 5 Paladin, 7 Wizard, if you want to be the more Lich side, more of a Summoner build, you can do that. At level 6 Wizard, you get better Undead. You get access to level 5 Undead, which is a flying goal, I think it's called, and then there's another one that I'll show you. And, you know, they get more health with the wizard level, so that's one thing to keep in mind. That is if you want to be more summonery. Some people don't like the playstyle. It is kind of annoying when you're going around town and people are running around and stuff like that. But, again, I've been showing you the background of the minion stats and stuff like that. So hopefully you have an idea of, like, is it worth it or not? I don't know. It's arguable. It's probably not that good. But if you want to go more that time, you want to be, like, a real, like, hey, I want to focus on my minions as a Death Knight, then you would probably go 6 Wizard or even 7, and that would be a good option there. Now, to get a little bit more in depth with like the actual build, right? My take on it is going to be the Unholy DK build. Again, going back to our 4 aspects, this one's going to be very Unholy themed Necrotic. So this is the way that you're going to do a lot of necrotic damage. You're going to be a walking juggernaut. You're going to get a lot of temporary health. You're going to be tanky. You get lots of actions. You're very, very active throughout the rounds, and you get to summon a good amount of monsters, right? Because Druid, not only do they get access to Animate Dead if you go Circle the Spore, but you get a Fungal Summon as a reaction, which is going back to the Temple. What I like about this is that if you go Champ or Beastmaster, I think they're very, very good. You can go Eldritch Knight. I don't think it's worth it. If you want to do that, you're pretty much doing it for shield access. But you could do a level 1 Wizard dip if you want to go that way too. You can end the build. The core of the build is going to be 5 Fighter, 5 Druid, because you want level 3 spells and access to Animate Dead. The issue with this is that the Symbiotic, the temporary health, in order to get necrotic damage and get double damage on Halo of Spore, it has to maintain the temporary health. That's the issue. So every level you get 4. So if you go 5, you only get 20 temporary health. That can fall off so easily later on in the game that it's difficult to maintain. So like you really have to invest. Even 7 Druid health is not that great when it comes to doing this like necrotic theme, but you know, you got to make sacrifices. Great Weapon Master with extra attack is just really, really good in the game, especially how easy it is to generate advantage. And again, as we're like an Unholy DK, we are the necrotic theme, right? So we get a lot of necrotic damage. We want to be more melee focused, but you know, it is 24 health if you go 6 levels, or 28 if you go 7. You know, you just gotta make, you gotta play around a little bit, right? In your party, your DK, if it is the main character, you gotta play around a little bit, right? So the one thing I will say is that you do want to go at minimum probably level 6 in the Druid. It'll give you 24 temporary health. You know, every little bit matters, and you get access to Fungal Summon. The way this build works, and I'll show you some footage, but pretty much you have all the great things about Fighter, Fighting Style, Second Wind, Action Surge. I would only really go Champ or Beastmaster. Champ really works well if you do a level 1 dip into Warlock, which I'll talk about in a bit, because the great other one, you get on crit chance to Frighten, which is very, very good. I overall like Battlemaster better. Trip attack helps your summons get a higher chance to hit. You get Frighten there, and then Riposte is, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but it's an absolutely tempo changing thing. It's probably one of the best superiority die spenders in the game, because you really just set the tempo. Like, this build is really about tempo and taking advantage of those first early turns. And what happens is that when we get into our turn, we get 2 attacks. If we crit or kill somebody, we get a Great Weapon Master bonus action. Even if you don't, you can bonus action Goo if you want to start. I mean, bonus action Hex, and now we're doing more necrotic damage, right? With the Executioner and guaranteed crits, you're going to do some crazy damage with this, guys. It's very, very nice. A lot of necrotic. If you have Sword of Chaos, if you have Hex, you have Symbiotic, you do a lot of necrotic damage per turn. It's very Unholy themed. And then with Druid, you get reactions. So Halo of Spore is reaction. So you can get 2 attacks. If you really want to do 3 attacks, you have access to 3 attacks if you don't Hex. And then you can reaction Halo Spores for more damage, or reaction get some tempo with a Fungal Summon. And then you'll get, you know, preferably you have your zombie already. So that's why it's like really, really good, really tempo focused. And, you know, I have these color coded. You can do different dips if you want. You can go just get 5 levels in Druid and get summons if you don't want the fungal. If you don't think the fungal is worth it, if you don't think level 4 is worth it, and getting a little bit more health on Symbiotic is worth it, then you can do that. I preferably do 5 Fighter, 6 Druid, and then 1 Warlock for a great other one, and Hex primarily, right? Just be aware that the Armor of Agathis, I don't know how to pronounce it, does not stack with Symbiotic. You get 1 source of temporary health. That's it. The other thing to note is that the Druid charges for Symbiote, and I'm pretty sure the Fungal Summon reset on short rest. So that's a big benefit. Now, the last thing I'll talk about, well, the third build really, or the fourth build, depending on how you think about it, is going to be the Oathbreaker. This is the most balanced. If you're just playing the game as a new game and you want to be a Death Knight, I would go this route. It's the easiest way to get the most lore appropriate aspects of a Death Knight. You go Paladin, you break your oath, probably, you know, I don't know, steal from somebody right early on in the game. You get all like the necrotic themed stuff, you get the dread aspects, you get the auras, you get darkness or hate, you get level 3 spells, you get feats, you know, you get great weapon, you get all the stuff that's lore appropriate for a paladin. It's the most balanced version. The biggest negative about this is that you only get 2 level 3 spell slots because you're a hybrid caster. You get Animate Dead, which is what you're probably going to want to use, and you're probably going to use Elemental Weapon. Elemental Weapon's very good. The biggest issue with it is that you only get 2 spell slots. So if you want to come back from a long rest and you want to Ellie weapon your own weapon, and that's your concentration, you have no other concentration. And paladins are very, very paladins have a plethora of like concentration spells. Like it's just too much. And having Ellie weapon, God forbid you lose concentration, that's it. You have one more chance, or you know you're probably gonna use the other thing for the other level 3 for Animate Dead. So that's what you have. So it's like, that's what sucks about it. But if you're looking at it from an objective standpoint from lore, then you know just going 9 paladin throughout acts 1 and 2 is probably your best bet. And then obviously once you get to the higher levels and you get to level 12, then you would start doing, you know, a wizard or fighter or warlock dip, right? And it's all, you know, personal preference. Pact of the Blade, you know, then you would go charisma scaling at that point, but typically you'll be strength con. That's pretty much it. So the last one, not really my build. Everybody and their mother knows about this, right? You abuse a limited power that guarantees a crit, and you just go paladin dip for smite access, and then you just go any caster to get 100, you know, all the spell slots in the world and do massive melee damage, right? So that's pretty much it. There's nothing really unique about it. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I don't want to get too in depth. I wanted to keep this video somewhat short. And I will go over the races really quick, especially with 1.0. So Dragonborn did get buffed. Their breath is schedule level. It's a lot better, and you know they look awesome. The other really good ones, well, probably the best one's probably gonna be Half Orc. It's like probably just the best race in the game with crits and reviving yourself on 1 hit point. You know, it's a really big deal. Tiefling is also super cool. I think the idea of being like a being from hell coming to the mortal plane and, you know, redeeming yourself as a paladin and maybe then falling to become a Death Knight is really damn cool. For Tiefling, you would go Zerial, I believe. Yeah, so for Tiefling, you would go Zerial because you get the smites later on, which is just more smites. You know, you're a Death Knight, so it's like it just makes sense. It's really cool. But that's pretty much it with the stats. Again, you know, it really depends on the build. If you're gonna go the charisma scaling, you're gonna focus on charisma. If you're gonna go strength scaling, you're gonna focus on strength. Just always remember. So just know for you know, the ability points, guys. If you're gonna go charisma focus, if you're gonna go strength, then that's what you're gonna go with, right? Then just know again the brackets. 16 will get you +3, and you can't just get 17. You got to get to 18, right? So if you're gonna go 17 strength, make sure you rush ASI or something like Heavy Armor Master or some other feat that will give you that +1 to get to the next bracket. But that's pretty much it. You know, Half Orc, Zerial are the best, but again, at the end of the day, you pick whatever's most lore appropriate. Drow, you know, they really had that Death Knight look. My next playthrough, I'm gonna be doing a Tiefling, and then what I'm gonna do, if you go here, if you guys didn't know, and you go to skin color, you show all, and then it'll even show you like ice, you know, Drow, and you get that more Death Knight, that more Death Knight look, you know. And even some of them will show you, like I think Drow has a lot of the ashy ones, but you know, you do have access to like that Drow look, that undead look as other races too. So something to think about. With that said, again, I wanted to keep it a little bit short. I would have liked to show more gameplay and stuff like that, but it's not the easiest thing to do. And, you know, because I have, like, you know, 4 to 5 to 6 builds, like the Compendium and this, it's almost impossible. But, so Mozu with Necrotic, again, you know, if you did make it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you think. Let me know how you made your Death Knight. And if you think that, you know, what I gave you is a good basis to make something that flavorful on your end. So that's pretty much it. You know, again, leave a comment, like, comment, subscribe, and have a good one, guys.